Hello, and welcome to the Weeb Years. I am your supreme overlord superhost, Beanie, and with me is my cat girl underling, Laurel.
Yeah. Wait, I can talk. Cats can talk. I can talk.
Oh my god, cat can talk.
Oh my god, a talking cat?
I remember that movie. I remember both versions of that movie.
I didn't know there was a second version.
Wait, no, I'm thinking of a different movie entirely. This bit was ruined from the get-go. Hi, everyone.
Well, it's okay if you don't know about a talking cat. I don't think it came out in our time frame.
We don't perceive past 2010.
If it came out after 2010, it doesn't exist.
What even is a Madoka? This episode is airing on April 2nd, 2026, and exactly 20 years ago to the day, the anime world was turned upside down by a girl named Haruhi Suzumiya.
Wow, 20 years to the day.
I feel so old.
Oh god. I remember seeing like the character songs and the audio dramas for this as they were coming out.
That leads in pretty well to what I was about to ask. Have we seen this before?
So I actually had not seen this before. I'd had it really overhyped by a bunch of people, and I just never had gotten around to it.
That is unbelievable. I remember watching the first few episodes of this back in the day and really, really enjoying it, but I never actually finished. That was a time period where I was trying to absorb as much anime as I possibly could on my grandparents' shitty little desktop computer, so I would often just watch like the first few episodes of as many shows as I could just to feel like I was broadening my horizons, I guess.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, I kind of did a similar thing with my anime club because we would usually just broadcast like one episode of a show, and if we were going to continue to watch a show, it was going to be something more episodic.
That's been something that's been very fun about doing this podcast, is I get to finally finish shows that I started when I was like 14.
So I hadn't seen this, but I will say that I remember for my very first anime convention, I made sure that I knew the Hare Hare Yukai dance.
Yes.
Because if it came on at the rave, I wasn't going to look like a fool.
You gotta do it.
I had to know the dance.
You gotta do it.
I don't remember like any of it. I remember the Love Live dances. I don't remember this one though.
The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya began as a series of light novels written by Nagaru Tanigawa and illustrated by Noise Ito in 2003. In 2006, an anime adaptation produced by Kyoto Animation began airing. Famously, the first season was weird. They chose to adapt the first few chapters of the first novel, but also included adaptations of random chapters from later novels, and aired everything in non-linear order. When Season 2 started airing in 2009, it started by rebroadcasting the first season chronologically, with the new episodes interspersed in between. Trying to watch this was a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, oh god, yeah, I guess if you were watching not on like an official broadcast place, I didn't really have trouble with it because I went through official means.
Yeah. Now, we watched the show in English and we used the chronological order, which is what you'll find the episodes in if you use any of the official streaming services like Crunchyroll or Amazon. Most of the less than legal sites have the original broadcast order, but it's super easy to find an episode guide if you want to watch things, air quotes, properly.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but I know that that has been my experience with stuff I watched that wasn't legally available back in the day. Like when I watched Evangelion, it was, well, Evangelion didn't have a different TV order, but I'd never seen any of the extended scenes because most places you watched it just had the broadcast version of it.
Mm-hmm. The series was licensed in the West by Bandai Entertainment and later was bought by Funimation, which means you can find it on Crunchyroll. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is one of the all-timer anime. It is hard to explain to someone who wasn't there for it just how much the show permeated the popular consciousness. Like, objectively, it was one of the most popular and most successful anime of the 2000s, and is also considered just like one of the most influential anime of all time.
I know that it had a really, really profound impact on Moe.
Oh, insanely so. The first step in us talking about just how big this show was is talking about the first ending theme, Hare Hare Yukai. This fucking song, and specifically the dance associated with it, were fucking inescapable if you were even remotely into anime.
TikTok dances have always existed as long as you've been into anime.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
It's my hot take of the day.
That's not that hot. You're very correct. If you were in an anime club between 2006 and 2010, there's a decent chance you tried to learn it. And that includes me and my anime club in high school. We were supposed to perform it at a local charity thing, but thankfully that fell through and I was spared the embarrassment.
Oh, I actually did perform a charity thing, but that was Love Live. That wasn't this. Because I used to be in a Love Live cosplay dance group.
Is Love Live in our time frame? It's not, is it?
No, it's too late.
Sad.
It's also really bad.
Now, very rightfully, everyone remembers Hare Hare Yukai, but I forgot just how good the openings are. Like, Boken Desho Desho and Super Driver, absolute bangers, and the opening, like, sequences themselves have some really good animation.
I didn't like the second opening, but I think that's just because of its association with the episodes it was associated with.
That's... I can understand that. Yeah, we'll get to that.
But every time Hare Hare Yukai came back on, I would be like, it's the song!
Woo! I think the second opening, I think Super Driver has a better animation sequence, but I do prefer Boken Desho Desho as a song.
Which one has the cat in it? Is that...
I think that's Super Driver.
Every time that would come on, I would pick up Ember and make her do the dance.
North High student Kion is the epitome of your typical teenage boy, totally average in every way. As the new school year begins, he slowly starts getting to know his abrasive, eccentric, and incredibly talented classmate, Haruhi Suzumiya. Haruhi spends her days wishing she could meet an alien, or a time traveler, or an esper, or anyone who could make her life more interesting. Eventually, she gets the idea from Kion to start a club in order to upend her boredom, and with Kion's reluctant involvement starts the S.O.S. Brigade, dedicated to entertaining Haruhi's every whim at any cost. Haruhi quickly gathers extra members for the club, and soon each of them reveal to Kion the ultimate secret. Haruhi Suzumiya is a reality warper, capable of bending all of existence to her will, but is completely unaware of it. If she wants something bad enough, the universe warps itself to make it so. Each of their new friends is a fantastical manifestation of Haruhi's imagination, and they each need Kion's help to keep an eye on her and make sure her melancholy doesn't cause her to end the world.
I just keep thinking about how abrasive is a fantastic word to describe Haruhi.
She is a personality, to be sure.
So what's interesting is it does seem to, leave it a little bit ambiguous throughout the events of the story as to exactly what's going on with Haruhi and the nature of her powers, or if she truly has them, or if she's truly human.
I really like how they handle that, because they offer so many different theories of who or what Haruhi is and how much control she really has over events and all of that. And eventually you realize it doesn't actually matter. The point is just that they're making an interesting anime with fun little scenarios, and they're trying to glaze over the how or why so they can just facilitate the fun stuff. And it's really fun how they do it.
I would agree with that. I think it could be more interesting if they'd explored it a little bit more, but I don't think that's the nature of what this anime was meant to be.
Oh, definitely not. Let's start things off talking about Kion, who is one of my new favorite characters in anything ever. I love him. I love Kion so much. He is the ultimate straight man in this world of eccentric weirdos, and you might think that would make him boring, but every word out of his mouth is a fucking delight.
My wife and I both separately came to the conclusion that he reminds us of the protagonist of Saw 3.
I have zero context for that, but that's still hilarious.
Slow-ass motherfucking Jeff, who, the whole time you're watching and you're like, come on, dude, just act a little bit faster, do a little bit more work, try a little harder.
Oh no, don't be mean to my boy.
You're allowed to like Kyon. We didn't like Kyon.
Love him. I really appreciated the way that Kyon is written. He's a good guy, but he isn't a saint. He can be a bit perverted, but he's not a sleazebag. He feels like a real person. And when you put him next to all of these, very intentionally unrealistic people, There's just something about that pairing and how his character interacts with the others that I really, really like. Every response he has to every scenario he's in feels like the appropriate response. And it's just, he's so much fun. He's just a snarky asshole also, and it's great.
I think the realism is kind of what puts me off a little bit of him, not because he's poorly written, but because he's a teenage boy. And like a lot of the stuff he's doing, it's like, oh my god, like maybe try to have a little bit more empathy or try to have a little bit more, what's the word? Like Endless 8 is the part that was driving me the most crazy because I feel like that was his fault. We'll get there.
Well, yeah.
He is really well written though, and I have to say, like, in the episode where they're showing the student film, that narration is peak. That's probably my favorite part of the show, is him trying to fucking narrate.
It's really good.
Haruhi's what the fuck is going on movie.
He has that energy the entire show, and it's great.
And I like, too, that he's, like, willing to engage, because he doesn't have any reason not to, which is fun. Like, the dynamic he has with the others is really fun.
We'll get to the actual character of Yuki in a moment, but the way Kyon interacts with Yuki is really cute. Like, despite everything he knows about her, he treats her like anyone else, and it's really sweet. Like, if you're a neurotypical and you have an autistic friend, look at how Kyon behaves around Yuki. I'm not even saying that as a bit. It's just like genuinely, it's very sweet how he acts around her. I like it.
It's a very silly
like
takeaway.
Everyone else like even ignoring what she is, everyone else treats her like a weirdo, and he's just like, hey, Yuki, you having fun over there? I like it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, like, he's very inclusive, and I respect that about him.
The first 6 episodes of the show contain the first main story arc chronologically, the first 6 episodes, which introduces you to each of the main characters and reveals the mechanics of the world. Do you remember way back in our first episode when we covered Samurai Champloo? And I said that you could watch just the first episode and get a full, satisfying story?
Yes.
Similar thing here. I'm not saying you should only watch the first 6 episodes, but this first arc has such a good narrative and ends in such a way where you could totally stop here and have a great time with it.
I definitely think it's the strongest arc, and I think I would have had more fun with the series if I'd stopped there.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, I'm the hater this episode.
This is what I literally asked for this the last episode we recorded. I was like, please, can someone else be the negative one next time?
Yeah, I'm gonna be the hater this episode.
Getting into the rest of the S.O.S. Brigade, the first addition to the squad is Miss Yuki Nagato, who's introduced as this quiet bookworm, but is actually an alien. More specifically, she's an artificial humanoid computer created by a 5th-dimensional being called the Data Integration Thought Entity to observe humanity and, more specifically, Haruhi. I fucking love Yuki. She basically ties with Kyon for one of my favorite characters. She's so fucking cute, and her, like, emotionless responses to everything are comedy gold.
Yeah, I have a hard time picking a favorite character. I would say maybe Yuki or Koizumi. I like Koizumi a lot,
Koizumi's also great. I got really excited when I was doing research and I found out that there's a spin-off of this called The Disappearance of Nagato Yuki, which makes her the main character.
Yeah.
But reading about it actually sounds kind of boring because it's weirdly a high school AU of this already high school show. It's like, what if the same thing, but nobody had special superpowers and everyone was normal? Which, like, why?
What if we made a high school AU of a high school show? Is deranged. I do really like Yuki, though, and I think she's brilliantly written in what she is. I think it's hard to do a character who is as knowledgeable and, like, omnipresent as Yuki and do that well, but I think they do a really great job with writing Yuki, and I think the way she's written, too, really delicately weaves between, like, she still feels like a person, but she also feels like a computer, which is really interesting.
It's a great example of how clever this show can be when they were like, we need a character who's an alien. And they didn't just go, oh, this person's from another planet. This is an artificial being created by a 5th-dimensional entity. That's fun. That's unique.
How easy would it have been to just be like, haha, fan service alien? Because it was like 2006.
They could still do the like, I'm socially awkward because I'm from another planet and I don't know this culture's social norms. But they didn't go the expected route, and that's really fun.
I like her. I do really like her. I want to know what she was reading.
Oh, yeah. Our next character is Mikuru Asahina, who Haruhi quite literally forces to join the club, specifically for her moe appeal. She's cute and nervous and pathetic, and also a time traveler from the future, sent back in time to observe Haruhi's effect on the time stream.
I also really like Mikuru.
She's really cute. Mikuru herself is an okay character, but the way Haruhi and the rest of the show treats her is probably my biggest actual complaint of the show.
Yeah.
I want to get through some other talking points first, but an early scene of Haruhi forcing Mikuru to put on a sexy bunny girl outfit against her will was my first sign of concern with the show.
It's very 2006, though. Like, this shit was everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're moving away from it a little bit.
It doesn't count as sexual assault if a girl does it.
And then we wonder why, societally, there's such a predatory lesbian stigma.
The last addition to the main cast is Itsuki Koizumi, a handsome and charismatic young man with psychic abilities that manifested 3 years ago when Haruhi decided she wanted to meet an Esper. Like the others, his job is to keep an eye on Haruhi and make sure she doesn't become so bored she subconsciously ends all reality, but he's a bit more hands-on than the other two. When Haruhi becomes bored or upset, small pockets of reality are created and begin to fill with monsters, and Itsuki and the other Espers have to enter these closed spaces and defeat what's inside before they gobble up the earth.
Koizumi is, I think, my favorite of this main gang, mostly because he's just so willing to fuck around with everyone.
Yeah. No, he's quite a treat for sure. I like his dynamic with Kyon, because he's like the closest thing to a normal person in the cast aside from Kyon, but he's like just a little bit out there comparatively that he can get on Kyon's nerves, and it's funny.
He's like the type of character who like seems really normal in most situations, but then when you get him alone and you start talking to him, he sounds completely unhinged and deranged, and I love that.
He has a penchant for the overdramatic, for sure.
Also, shout out to Johnny on Bosch.
Shout out yes, no, this honestly might be one of the best English dubs ever produced, and I don't say that to be hyperbolic. Like, legitimately every one of the main actors does a fantastic job.
I don't know, I'm still pretty partial to Death Note. Death Note's really good, the dub.
I'm not saying it's the best, but it is definitely one of the best.
Yeah, it's up there, I think.
Crispin Freeman as Kyon especially puts on one of the best performances of his entire fucking career. Like, a third of my notes while watching are just some variation of Crispin Freeman, you are an absolute delight.
Yeah, I think the only character who was a bit grating was Mikuru at times, but that's more of how she's written than the nature of the voice actor.
Arguably, her being a bit grating can be intentional, though, because she literally exists to be the pathetic little moe character as per Haruhi's demented reality whims.
Oh, absolutely. And I also think if you cut out all of, like, the problematic scenes, there would not be as many issues.
Oh, for sure. Another big praise for the show is just that it's just really well made. Like, despite all the wacky bullshit that can happen, there's a lot of really well done little moments that make the characters feel real to me. And they do a lot of fun tricks with the animation, too.
I think there's areas where it's a really smart use, and I think there's areas where they completely just missed the mark entirely.
Like what? Like, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just curious about examples.
Mostly Endless 8.
Okay.
I feel like would have been fine if it was a visual novel, but does not work in anime format.
We'll cover Endless 8, don't
We'll
worry.
talk
That's
about
going to be its own
Endless 8.
separate talking point. Endless 8 just looms in the distance.
And just some of the placement of some of the episodes didn't really make sense to me in chronological order. I don't know if I would have felt the same way if we'd watched in broadcast order.
That was an issue that I felt, especially with the final episodes. Because, like, a weird side effect of trying to watch it in chronological order is that the show has, like, 2 points that feel like capital E endings, which were obviously the final episodes of each season. But chronologically, the last 2 episodes of the show are just kind of random one-offs.
Yeah. It also, like, watching this in chronological order, all of the good episodes are kind of, like, segmented together near the start, and then, like, the pacing is really weird if you watch it chronologically, I find.
I only watched it chronologically. I didn't watch it in the broadcast order, but I was always keeping it in the back of my head as going and trying to imagine, like, oh, you would have seen this in between these two, and then this one, and I can definitely see where there would have been some novelty to it, but even though what we got maybe isn't perfect, I don't think I would ever suggest doing the broadcast order unless you had already seen it and you were just wanting to do it as like a fun little gimmick.
I think I probably would have enjoyed the broadcast order more.
Rewatch this entire show in broadcast order and then come back later and tell us what you thought.
I think my wife would kill me.
There was one point while I was watching one of the earlier episodes of Haruhi that my boyfriend, who doesn't have nearly as much experience with anime, he walks in to tell me something and he looks on the screen and he just goes, "Oh, why does her face look like that?"
I picked the wrong time to pour coffee. That was fucking funny.
If I'm going to complain about anything on the production end, though, I'm going to step back away from my microphone for this one. They don't have subtitles for the on-screen text.
Oh, really?
This was a big flaw in Lucky Star's dub, where there's really important information or gags in the form of on-screen text, but without baked-in subtitles, you have no fucking idea what's going on if you can't read Japanese. This is becoming a massive pet peeve of mine since we started doing this show. Please, for the love of God, bake in your subtitles.
I think it's probably something that's getting worse too with AI-generated subs.
Oh god, yeah. Speaking of Lucky Star, though, we talked about this a lot during the episode last year, but these days, it is almost impossible to find an anime that doesn't reference another anime to some extent, or try to play off existing tropes in some way. Haruhi Suzumiya was one of the first series where the gimmick was playing off the established conventions and tropes of the medium. Like, Haruhi herself was almost a proto-Konata, being an attractive young girl who would constantly point out things like, "Oh, he's the mysterious transfer student," or "We need someone with moe appeal." And it's all stuff that, like, by today's standards could feel incredibly played out, but it was really a revolutionary concept at the time and a big reason for the series' success.
Well, not only that, but this was also, like, earlier on in the days of the internet. So even if these concepts were something that was appearing in a lot of series and a lot of anime, people might not have known the terminology behind it to the same extent they would now.
I think Haruhi was definitely the trope namer for a few things.
Especially, like, Genki Girl, Cuckoo Cloudlander, stuff like that. Hi, I'm Laurel. I read too much TV tropes.
Put that on a mug. My big issue with Lucky Star was that the reference humor felt outdated as hell, but it's done way better here and still felt very clever and enjoyable.
I think, too, Haruhi succeeds in referential humor because it's contextualizing things in terms of, like, tropes and archetypes rather than referencing specific elements of, or specific lines from specific things, which is more so what Lucky Star did.
Haruhi uses reference humor to facilitate its jokes, but it never uses it as a punchline the way Lucky Star did.
It's more accessible for sure, is I think the big difference.
Anyway, it is now time to talk about the most controversial and contentious aspect of this entire show, the Endless 8 arc.
So going into this, I had sent a screenshot to, like, my tabletop group, and someone immediately responded, "Good luck getting through Endless 8." So I knew getting into it that Endless 8 was going to be an experience. I thought it was going to be sad. It was not what I expected at all. It was a very different emotion.
This was the first new content of the second season, and an adaptation of one of the most popular arcs in the light novels, apparently, where Haruhi's desire to keep having a fun summer vacation with her friends causes everyone to be stuck in a time loop where the last 2 weeks of summer repeat for almost 500 years, although Yuki is the only one actually aware of it. Now, this is only a single chapter in the light novels. But the anime's way of adapting it was to basically air the same episode 8 times in a row, with really only minor visual details differing each time. The reason this was done was because originally they were going to adapt the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya arc, but during production they changed tracks and decided to make it a movie instead, and to fill the planned episode count, they stretched the Endless 8 arc instead. This proved to be a bad call.
I didn't know that. That is interesting. I saw some stuff about how during dubbing, the dubcast was getting really frustrated and not being given a lot of information about how, like, why do we have to record the same lines over and over? Why don't we get more context about what's going on? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I saw an interview with Johnny Young Bosch, who is the VA for Itsuki, where he talked about, like you said, how much the dub actors just fucking hated having having to re-record the same script over and over. They begged to be able to do different things differently. Johnny himself suggested letting everyone swap roles for an episode and he could play Haruhi, which sounds fucking hilarious, but sadly they did not get the green light on that.
That's heartbreaking.
There is a decent number of fans who consider the arc to have bold artistic merit. Most audiences consider it a huge waste of their fucking time. I think you and I included.
I would respect the artistic merit if it was 4 episodes. The fact that it's 8 episodes is insane.
I think it says a lot that basically everyone on the production staff has apologized for Endless 8 at one point or another.
And it could have been done so much better if they drip-fed the information a little bit more throughout, because there are entire episodes where you watch it and you learn nothing, which was the frustrating part to me. I feel like I would have been willing to watch them revisit things and reanimate things, because it is really interesting from the perspective of like as an art piece. Like, we had the animators animate the same thing over and over again from different angles with different outfits and whatnot.
Different outfits, different camera angles. There's occasionally like certain scenes will be swapped out with each other or won't happen or something's different, but it's very, very minor stuff.
They could have really done more though, because Yuki talks about how there were times they went to the festival and didn't do goldfish scooping, but we never see that.
Yeah, or like apparently there was different part-time jobs that they took, but we only ever see the frog suit thing.
Yeah, I just felt really, I don't know. They didn't do a good job with it. They did a terrible job with it.
I can see where the defenders are coming from when they say that watching the whole thing, like, there is that artistic merit thing. Like, it is very fun that they let different animators kind of take the helm for the different episodes and do different angles and animation styles. And I understand what the defenders are talking about when they say that watching the whole thing makes you feel the suffering of the characters and the overwhelming relief when it's over. But Jesus Christ, even binging the whole thing on streaming, it's a fucking slog.
But I think if that were the purpose, like, there are episodes where we learn a lot of things really early on that I don't think we need to know immediately. I think they could have spaced out the exposition and it would have still felt long, but felt like some progress was being made. Mm-hmm. And the thing that really frustrated me was that there are so many episodes of Endless 8 where Kyon is like, he recognizes he needs to do something, he doesn't do anything, and the episode ends. Like, I wish we'd gotten to see him try different things.
This is another one of those things where knowing the behind-the-scenes part of it, it certainly explains why things were done that way, but it's not a good enough excuse. Endless 8 was the first proper new content of Season 2. Season 1 was the season where they did all things out of order, and then the gimmick for Season 2 essentially was Endless 8, and people fucking hated it.
I feel like Endless 8 would have been better interspersed between episodes, so that you have some content between it, but then it wouldn't achieve that.
Yeah. Don't skip the arc entirely. There are folks who will say that you need to watch the whole thing, but most people will say to just watch the first and last episode. Personally, I think you should watch the first 2 episodes and then the last one. I think you need at least one extra loop in there to really get the full effect.
Yeah.
The next main arc after Endless 8 is The Size of Haruhi Suzumiya, where Haruhi decides the S.O.S Brigade is going to make a movie to present at the school's cultural festival. I think this is a good arc with some great moments and some good character writing, but it is also the best example of 2 of the biggest issues I have with the show. The first one being, Haruhi is an awful person.
Yeah.
I made a note in the first few episodes about how funny it was watching this, because no matter how hot someone was, if they acted like this in real life even a little bit, they would be fucking insufferable. And yeah, no, Haruhi is a bit of a monster sometimes.
I always really relate with the Genki girl characters, but there were a lot of times with Haruhi where it was like, girl, you need to learn some boundaries. But also, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of the whole pretense of the series, is is she can get away with it because of what she is.
A little bit.
Which is interesting, because it does suggest that when someone is in a position where they have more power, they're going to be less empathetic and less considering of others and feel less responsibility.
Yeah, she'll have some small moments of empathy or little scenes to try and show that she's really a good person deep down, but for most of the show, she's an absolute sociopath who treats everyone around her like toys, and it can kind of range from like amusing to just downright despicable.
Haruhi is me playing Sims, except the people around her are the Sims.
That is an upsettingly accurate statement to make. I did read in my research that there are later stories in the light novels where she gets some major character development and becomes a much more likable character, but in terms of what we get in the anime, she can be a lot.
I felt like there really wasn't a lot of character growth in the anime itself, which is also something my wife had commented on, because she was really disappointed that Kyon didn't get more character development throughout. And I think I felt that way about Haruhi more so. I don't know that Koizumi needed it. Mikuru's the one who gets the most because you see her at different points in her life. But even then, that's not necessarily her character in the time frame we're watching getting development. So it feels a little bit like a cop-out as well.
Yeah. This arc, The Size of Haruhi Suzumiya, this is definitely when her being a terrible person was the most upsetting, but like halfway through I realized that was kind of the point. Like this was where they chose to have Haruhi actually cross the line and get called out, and it is uncomfortable. Like that whole scene where Kyon is calling her out for her bullshit. I'm not going to say what she does, but that whole scene is really hard to watch, but like in a way where like I think it's intentionally hard to watch.
Apparently it's worse in the novels.
Oh god. I'm just going to read you one of the notes that I have while I was watching these episodes. There's a very unpleasant read you could make for this show about Haruhi's behavior and toxic/abusive relationships, but I don't think that's the actual intent of the narrative, and over the last few reviews, I'm trying to be less negative these days, so unless it becomes significantly more prominent, I'm choosing to ignore that.
I do also think there's an interesting angle of it being like, there's a lot of philosophy surrounding religion and spirituality that suggests if there's a god and they're omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, they have to not have the same sort of moral compass as a human because of the shit that they allow to happen or the shit that they put people through. And I think that that's an interesting lens to view Haruhi through, in that if she is a god in this setting, she's more interested in an entertaining story and entertaining events than the people around her. And I think there is like some philosophical basis for that as well, and I think that's an interesting angle you can look at it with. But if you're looking at her as a human being, she's abhorrent.
Absolutely. You do get little hints of like, she doesn't really realize her behavior is wrong, and she does need somebody to be like, hey, you need to stop that. Because you do get touches of she wants to have friends and like little moments where she is being appreciated and doesn't understand how to handle being appreciated. Like, she just needs to grow as a person. We just don't get that in the actual anime.
I think it's also really interesting in the Saya of Haruhi Suzumiya arc, because it's very much commentary on real life directors who have done also horrible, heinous shit. Like thinking of like Kubrick, for instance.
I was gonna go to fucking Kubrick too. I was gonna go the exact same place.
And like how much he tormented like Shelley Duvall and all that shit.
The other big issue this show has that's really brought to the forefront in this arc is poor Miss Asahina and how she gets treated. Like, moe woobies are one thing, but this poor girl is basically just emotionally abused most of the show, and it gets really hard at points to find it amusing.
Yeah, it's kind of exhausting more than anything. We didn't have to watch her march Mikuru around in a bunny costume with people taking videos of her.
Or when she gets thrown into the lake when they're filming the movie, and she's just crying the entire time.
And it sucks because she's like one of the more interesting characters.
Yeah, like you're clearly supposed to feel bad for her, but it's supposed to be in like a, oh, poor little moe baby. And instead, a lot of the times I feel like I need to call the police.
Yeah.
I do want to reiterate that, like, I do think there is a lot of very good scenes and stuff. Like, this arc isn't awful. There's some good stuff in it. It just contains some of the more uncomfortable aspects.
I would say it's one of my favorite parts of the show because the end product is just, the payoff is fantastic.
The movie, getting to watch, like, a whole episode of the show is just the movie that they made.
Yeah, and they do a fantastic job animating it and making it look like it's a poorly shot film within an anime, which is really cool.
Gosh, I sure am bored. My favorite podcast only uploads every other week, so all I can do until the next episode comes out is cry into my Haruko Haruhara body pillow.
Reverse those tears back into your eye holes, sad listener person.
We're here to solve all your sadness problems.
And also promote ourselves financially.
Oh my gravy! It's Beanie, Laurel, and Maymay from the Weeb Years, my favorite anime podcast I was just crying about.
Silly listener person, didn't you know that the Weeb Years has a Patreon with tons of exclusive bonus content?
You get access to exclusive recordings and videos, read the notes we take while doing research,
Plus, you can get new episodes 3 days early. That makes you better than everyone else for 3 whole days.
Wow, that all sounds so cool. I wish I had the $100 a month it costs to access all those amazing extra goodies.
Silly listener person, you can access all that fantabulous bonus material for only $5 a month.
Sugoi!
Haha, never say that again.
Just go to patreon.com/theweebyears to cure all your boredom and sadness forever.
Sorry about your wall, by the way.
So, Beanie.
Yeah?
I had promised you a surprise for this episode.
Oh, right. I'm scared.
Are you ready?
Do I have a choice?
It's also a review.
Okay.
But not a retro review, a contemporary review.
Contempiview.
Contempiview. Do you remember how upset my wife was after watching this film, or after watching this show?
Oh my god. Is this a wife review? Is this a wife view?
This is a review my wife wrote after watching the last episode and being so furious she needed to get it out.
Oh my god. I'm actually so excited now. Please, give us the wifey view.
Despite being 28 episodes, I've never had an anime feel too short and too long at the same time. The main character is atrocious and I despise him. He has zero character development, and the moment you think he's developing, he immediately reverts back to how he was the next episode. He is the most useless protagonist and has almost no redeeming qualities.
My boy.
There are many amazing ideas that just never get explored. The first few episodes are so good, and despite how much I hated the main character, I was loving it. And then it fell apart. At the end of the first arc, the protagonist was making progress, and it seemed like he was going to be in a happy relationship. Then the next arc came. The character went right back to being useless and completely disliking the romantic interest for no explained reason. The only show I've been angrier with was Game of Thrones.
Oh god. Your wife is mean.
She hated this.
That's incredibly unfortunate. It does speak to a thing that I remember saying earlier in the beginning, where I do think that the first 6 episodes really do stand out as, like, you could just watch that first 6 episodes and it's a very fulfilling story just by itself. Like, it does feel like it gets to an ending.
Yeah.
But, like, damn, woman.
Never seen her that mad at something either, I don't think. Because she loves slice of life, and she loves, like, anything that's cute girls doing cute things. And I'm absolutely insane to see her this upset about something.
So, to be incredibly generous, I do somewhat understand what she means with the last arc. The last arc was definitely the hardest one to watch, and it does, because of the weird episode mixing, it does kind of end 2 episodes before the show does. I can fully understand and respect being disappointed with the last arc. That's fine. I can see what she's talking about when she brings up Kyon feeling like he's gonna get together with Haruhi at the end of that first arc, and then the next one it's like, air quotes, back to normal. I have a counter argument on that.
Okay.
I think a big aspect of this show, something that really makes the show work, is the fact that Kyon is the only normal person in the entire cast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while, like, emotionally satisfying and cute writing and everything, him just, like, and by the end of that, they're in love and happy, like that's story writing. That's not real people. Like, sure, he's maybe got some new romantic interest, like maybe something has developed there, but he's not just going to change his personality overnight into someone else. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, he'll have a big revelation and then the next day go right back to normal.
Yeah, that's, I think, the inconsistency in the character writing is, I think, more what she took issue with. I don't think she was expecting there to be, like, a big finale where they get together, but at least some sense of progression with the relationship the two had, rather than, like, taking will they, won't they to a new extreme.
This is one of those cases where, like, I normally pride myself on being able to be the kind of person where, like, I might not agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from. This is one of those cases where I legitimately just don't see the argument. Like, I think the character writing is fantastic. It doesn't feel inconsistent to me whatsoever.
Character writing might not have been the right term. I mean, like, there's not really a growth trajectory for the characters. And it feels a bit lacking in that regard, is I think where she's coming from.
I suppose.
They are high schoolers, so we can be generous with it. But I think it's confusing when he starts to soften a little bit towards Haruhi and empathize a little bit more with her. And then he just goes right back to being an asshole to her. But I guess that is how a lot of young boys communicate with people they're interested in or friends with or what have you.
Counter argument also, he's not the only one who reverts back. He reverts back to behaving the way he was because Haruhi reverts back to the way that she was. Like, he started getting closer to her because she started getting nicer and becoming a more reasonable human being. Next episode, she's back on her bullshit, and so he's just like, ugh, this again, which that feels pretty fucking valid.
Okay, so you're saying it's like reactive rather than both of them having flip-floppy trajectories. Okay, that's fair.
Haruhi is the one who is incapable of growing as a person, and so Kyon is just having to handle this chaos child that he's being forced to be around.
Yes, but the writer still could have had her have some progression. It's not his fault, per se, but there are some lacking elements in the character writing in terms of, like, their arcs and their growth.
I will not stand for Kyon slander. I am happy to abide by Haruhi slander because, yeah, she does not get nearly as much development as she needs to in the actual anime. I wish we could have a more interesting resolution to this whole segment, but I feel like this is just going to be one of those agree to disagree moments, unfortunately.
I'm fine with that. I just thought it was really funny.
I can't wait for your wife to hear this episode later on and then mail me a pipe bomb.
She did. When I said to her that you liked Kyon, her response was, "You can't talk to Beanie anymore."
Oh, all right. That was the wifey views. Now we got the retro views.
I'm curious to hear this one because I really, like, it was so big when this anime came out, so I really don't know what to expect from this.
Well, you'll be happy to hear a returning name coming back to the retro views. Once again, we got good old Theron Martin from Anime News Network.
Fucking cool-ass name.
This one is specifically reviewing the first DVD. An anime series made specifically for otaku usually fares no better than moderately well, as targeting it at whatever niche market it panders to inherently limits its potential appeal. Every so often, though, one finds just the right tone, or puts together just the right combination of gimmicks to break beyond its limitations and become a smashing success. In 2006, that series was the mega hit The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, hereafter referred to as MOS. Whose intrinsic oddity, bold characters, strong technical merits, and boatload of fan-pleasing gimmickry have won it immense popularity, or notoriety depending on your point of view, in fan communities on both sides of the Pacific. Some of the series' charm also comes from the way it skewers assorted anime conventions and fandom peculiarities without actually parodying them. It toys with the current Japanese otaku fascination with moe in the same way that a cat plays with a ball of yarn. Its use of fan service carries a different feel from most other series, partly because it does not resort to the stereotypical tawdry reactions normally seen in more risque anime comedies. Though many aspects of the series may provide discussion, it is still, at heart, a humorous otaku fun fest, and is best appreciated if one does not lose sight of that. Not everyone will get the series, especially if you're a novice anime fan, but for those that do, this is just the start of one hell of an entertaining ride.
Fair? It makes me a little sad because I feel like I really would have appreciated the series more if I'd watched it sooner.
There is a part of me that wonders, like, if we lived in a world where what you got on streaming was the out-of-order broadcast release, and we were just forced to watch it that way, I wonder how our experience would feel different.
I think I would have liked it a lot more if I'd watched it not in the chronological order, personally.
I have enjoyed a number of other stories that do the whole nonlinear narrative thing. Bakano, one of the biggest ones, like that's a big success of that whole thing. Again, I haven't sat through the show as it was originally, I'm not going to say originally intended, because the fact that they put it this order on like the DVDs and streaming and everything, I feel pretty strong in saying this feels like it was the intended way to watch it, and when it was airing, it was more for the gimmick than everything. And I think that is why I question the necessity of doing it in the original broadcast order, because it does feel, this is going to sound a little more harsh than intended, but it does kind of feel like an afterthought.
I don't know. It's interesting too, because there's also the aspect of the original broadcast order is the order it was presumably made in, right?
I mean, for the anime, yes. I'm thinking about the fact that they are based on light novels, which the light novels were not originally made that way. So like from the get-go, like that's the difference between this and Bakano.
Interesting.
Bakano from the beginning, they intended to non-linearinate, that's super not the word, the narrative. Whereas Haruhi was like, hey, we've got this property we're going to adapt. Let's do that. Let's be a little silly with it.
I didn't realize that the novels were linear, and then the anime is specifically non-linear. That's crazy. What a weird decision to make.
Right? Like, I want to be very clear. I'm not knocking it. I think it's fun. But I struggle to say that that should be considered the intended viewing experience. Because it doesn't feel to me like it would be.
What if we took these novels and hit the shuffle button?
Pretty much, yeah. So the second review I got for Retro Reviews is a review of the second DVD. And what's funny is I read this review and I really liked parts of it, so I wanted to include it in the segment. And then only after doing so did I notice, oh hey, this is also Theron Martin. For those who have not seen Mohos in fan subs, ardent fans have much lamented the switch to chronological ordering of the episodes on the DVD releases compared to the scrambled order of the original TV broadcast. Some who saw the series in fan subs argue that easily making sense comes at the cost of the novelty of the out-of-order approach. I'm starting to wish I'd done this retro review before we just had that conversation. Completely forgot what this second review was about. This would have been much better earlier. But unlike the similarly disordered Boogie Pop Phantom, the original scrambled order felt more like a gimmick than an actual integral part of the storytelling, so no big loss. Whether a newcomer to the title or an established fan fulfilling obligations to purchase the DVDs for the fan subs you've watched, the second volume offers a lot of entertainment value in both its episodes and extras. It may be a fan-focused series, but it elevates itself above most others of its type through good storytelling, superior technical merits, and by avoiding descending into the most puerile levels of fan pandering. Part of the reason I wanted to include this review was that little bit at the end about buying the DVDs even after watching the fan subs. That's something that we haven't really talked about on the show yet, but it was a pretty big part of being the weeb in the 2000s. Like,
they were so expensive though, the DVDs.
Oh yeah, like fucking, okay.
I think I spent $80 on a 12-episode anime.
Yeah, come here, children, come up to Grandma Beanie's chair as I tell you about the days when Fooly Cooley, the 6-episode anime, cost $120 because it had 2 episodes per DVD and the DVDs were $40.
Yep. It was so expensive. And like, you had to go to like cons and people reselling stuff to get things at decent prices. But even like in that case, you wouldn't be supporting the anime because you'd be buying it secondhand.
Yeah. And going back to the thing about fan subs, like it's easy to forget what a major role original fan subs had in the Western anime community, when it could sometimes take like multiple years for a new anime to make its way over here officially. Like, if it even did.
Can I say something brave and controversial about that review?
Go right ahead.
I don't think things being gimmicky are always a bad thing. A lot of people will make gimmicky out to be specifically like a negative word, but I do think that there's like novelty in experiencing a gimmick in a way that is meaningful, even if it doesn't integrate fully.
I see what you are saying, and I do agree with you at a certain point. I think the separation is that when gimmicky is being used as a negative term, it's referring to where it is very clearly something tacked on and ultimately unnecessary. As much as I love these things, all of the little plastic chunks that you could stick on your Wiimote to pretend that you had a real tennis racket or a golf club, those were gimmicks. Those were gimmicky.
Yeah, but they were fun.
No, yeah, they were. Like, it's not that they can't be fun, but they are arguably unnecessary. I think the separation point is that if you have a gimmick that is done well, it has gone from being a gimmick to being a novelty. I think that's the separation point.
Yeah, but also I think in terms of like making things like anime and art, that like daring to take that risk is in and of itself admirable to some capacity, because they could have just not done it.
Oh, for sure. I also don't think the gimmick is an inherently negative term. Like, I do think people are a little too harsh when saying the phrase gimmick or gimmicky, but it's another one of those where I do understand the argument.
Yeah, and I think in this case it was interesting because it was, in Haruhi specifically, it was something chosen for an adaptation, and I think that whenever you adapt something, adding elements or reframing things slightly help that adaptation stand out from the original source material.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a big part of doing adaptations in general, because at a certain point you do kind of need to validate its existence. Like, why are you like, if this thing is so good, why are you adapting it into a different medium? If the original thing is, like, a lot of things can get away with it, like, oh, adapting books or comics into movies or TV shows. It's because adding motion and visuals to it can achieve a lot that the original can't. The alternative is things like all of those modern live action remakes of old cartoons that we've been getting the last few years, like a lot of the Disney ones or that stupid fucking How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. Those cannot validate their own existence because there is no reason for them to exist.
And I would say that I respect the people who made Haruhi for making this choice, however questionable it was, because it's giving people a very different experience from the source material if they're watching the anime after having read the light novels, or it's giving people a reason to go back to the original light novels and enjoy them in a different way.
I mean, it very clearly worked. One of the big reasons people talked about Haruhi as much as they did back then was because of that gimmick.
Yeah.
So I know your wife's answer to this. I know it very, very clearly now. But Laurel, would you recommend this today?
I feel like I would recommend just watching season 1.
Season 1 or that first 6-episode arc?
I believe the first 6 episodes were all in season 1, weren't they?
Well, yeah, but it's like, are you also suggesting that people go and watch those out of order, single, unrelated episodes as well?
I believe that the Mikuru Asahina Adventures was one of those episodes, and that's what I care more about. I think it's worth watching the slice of life episodes if you get to watch the really shitty student film that they made. I don't know, something about student films just tickles me.
I have already spoken quite a bit on all of the things that I think this show does well and what works and what doesn't work and all that. I stand by my statement on, I think when it comes to the Endless 8 portion of things, watch the first 2 episodes and then the last one. I'm solidly on that point. But in terms of just like watching the whole show in general, 100%, I desperately want everyone to go watch this if they haven't already. It is certainly not perfect, but a big ethos of like this entire podcast is making sure the classics of the past don't get forgotten. And this is absolutely one that deserves to be remembered.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. It's had such an impact on the community at large, especially in the West. Like, if I had $1 for every person I met who said Haruhi was their favorite anime, I'd have at least $5.
And if you, the listener, happen to have $5, you can spend it on our Patreon.
I didn't even mean for that segue to happen. That's so perfect!
As you likely heard during the ad break earlier, we do now have a Patreon. $5 a month gets you fun extra content and new episodes 3 days early. If you like the show and want to support us, this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, we've been working on extra content, I think, for like as long as we've been recording. And you get our notes. Good luck reading my handwriting.
It is very difficult, I will say. If you'd like to send us a listener question or give suggestions, feedback, any of that stuff, we also have a mailbox, theweebeers@gmail.com. And if you want to find us on social media, that's @weebeers on Blue Sky.
Yahoo! I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm excited for. I'm just excited to be here, I guess.
I'm very excited for the next thing that you and I are recording. You, me, and Maymay, the three of us. I'm so excited.
I'm a little scared, but I'm going to try to plug through as much of it as I can this weekend.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Bye-bye!